Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. Apologies for my voice is a bit more nasally today. Unfortunately, I have contracted a cold. Wonderful stuff. So this is another episode in the franchise and draft review series covering the years 2007 up until the present day. This episode will be focusing on the Indianapolis Colts. So what I'm doing with this series, I'm breaking down the last 10 years worth of regular season record, highlighting playoff appearances, Super Bowl wins and losses, that kind of thing, going through the coaching changes that have occurred in that time frame before breaking down and grading each individual draft over that time span for said team. I'll explain that grading system once I get to that part of the episode. Apologies if you've seen one of these before as I take you through that again. So, the Colts in the last 10 years have had three coaches. Tony Dungy for the first couple of seasons from 2009 to 2011. They had Jim Caldwell. And since then, from 2012 onwards, it has been Chuck Pagano. Amassing 100 wins and 60 losses over that time frame. Very impressive record. Of course, under Peyton Manning, they won at least 10 games every year as a result. 5 division titles, 7 playoff appearances and a Super Bowl loss in this time frame. The one outlier of the season being the 2-14 year where Peyton Manning was having the neck surgeries, allowed them to get Andrew Luck. Last couple of years, pair of 8-8s. Really, to me, they're a testament to how good Andrew Luck is at the football, because this roster is devoid of talent, in my opinion. One of the worst rosters in the league. Andrew Luck will win games by himself. He is good at football. So, on to the draft. So, as I say, I'm breaking down the last 10 years. Picks from round 1 through 3. Grading them each individually. These are the 3 rounds where I think you're expecting to get contributors and starters. Being a bit more strict with first round picks, of course, taking into account specifically where they were. You expect more from a top 10 pick, for example, than someone picked with the 31st selections. So, if the pick was a solid pick that the team would have been happy with, that gives a +1 to the team's score. If the pick was just fine, mediocre, that'll be a score of 0. If the player was a bust, that will be -1. Picks from rounds 4 through 7 are being designated as value picks. Any kind of contribution from those rounds is fantastic for a team. Most of these players never see the field. So that will be a +1 score for any value picks made. So going on to 2007. Now, the Friday episode, I'm going to collate all of this data for my weekly review. Be a lot more information, a lot more context with all the individual episodes done. So I hope you guys check that out. It should be really interesting. I'm also doing a top 10 favourite and least favourite classes over this time span. This one's a contender for the worst. So in the first round, the Colts selected Anthony Gonzalez, the wide receiver, with the 32nd overall selection. He was a bust, did absolutely nothing. In the second, Tony Hugo, the tackle. He was not a particularly good player, wasn't in the league very long as a result. He is another bust. In the third, Dante Hughes, a defensive back. He also did nothing. He was a bust. And then a defensive tackle, Quinn Pitcock, in the third. Don't even remember him. He was another bust. Disastrous draft all round. 2008, in the second, Mike Pollock, the tackle. Provided some mediocre play, bit of depth. Has to go down as a bust, really. In the third, Philip Wheeler, the linebacker. I thought he was a reasonable player. They got pretty good value out of him. Played well for him for a couple of years. And has had an okay career. I'll grant that solid, although I could go mediocre there. But for a third, I'll go solid. Fourth round, Jacob Tamme, the tight end. He's had a pretty productive NFL career. Unspectacular, but good value in the fourth. And in the sixth, Pierre Garçon. This is a home run of a value pick. He's had a very good NFL career. Decent receiver. Great value there. 2009 draft. We've got Donald Brown, the running back, selected 27th overall. I think he had one really good season. That was it. So he has to go down as a bust. In the second, Fili Mawala, defensive tackle, also did nothing, a bust. In the third, Gerard Powers, defensive back. He's had a reasonable NFL career, particularly good for a third rounder. That will go down as a solid. And in the fourth, a bit of a special mention for Austin Collie. I'll put him as a value pick because I think he was very productive in his limited time in the league. Unfortunately, concussion issues led to a early retirement there, but I'm going to give them a value pick because when he was healthy, he was effective and could have had a good career had those issues not arisen. In the 2010 draft, they selected Jerry Hughes, the defensive end. with the 31st overall selection. This is a bit of a tough one. Of course, did absolutely nothing in his time with the Colts, gone on to the Bills and been a very productive player for them. I'm not going to grade this one. It's going to go as mediocre. I could give it a solid, but I'm not sure. Even with the Bills, while he has been effective, I'm not sure if he's been good enough there, considering what he also did in Indianapolis, which was, or didn't do. He did nothing. In the second, one of my favourite names, Pat Angera. It's like so angry you can't say anger. It's like you're not angrier, you're angerer. He was a bust. It gave him a couple of years, but wasn't particularly good. Not good enough for a second rounder. And in the third, Kevin Thomas, defensive back. He did nothing. He was another bust. Moving on to the 2011 draft, Anthony Castonzo with the 22nd overall pick, the offensive tackle. He's turned into a solid player, maybe average, maybe slightly above average as a tackle. Considering the lack of tackle playing where he was selected, I think he's been a reasonable selection, so that one will get solid. In the second, Benny Gelano, the offensive lineman. I don't think he's a particularly good player. Going to have to give that a bust. In the third, Drake Nevis, the defensive tackle. He did nothing. He's been a bust. Moving on to the 2012 draft. This one could potentially make the best list. First overall selection, Andrew Luck. They nailed that. Fantastic player. The reason they're competitive week in, week out at this moment in time. In the second, Kobe Fleener. I don't particularly rate Fleener personally. I think he's inconsistent, not got great hands, but I'll give that solid, not bad value in the second. He's had a reasonable career. In the third, Dwayne Allen. Injuries have hampered him. He's now with the Patriots, but I think he's a good player when he's healthy. I'll grant that one a solid also. And in the third, T.Y. Hilton. They nailed that one. They basically got a small offense in this draft in those four selections. Yeah, T.Y. Hilton's gone on to have a great career thus far. No doubt that will continue as Andrew Luck's favourite receiver. Definite, easy, solid there. 2013 draft, Bjorn Werner with the 24th overall selection, the defensive end outside linebacker. That's a bust. He did absolutely nothing. And in the third, Hugh Thornton, the guard, not a good player. That has to go down as a bust. In the 2014 draft, we've got no first rounder. Jack Muhort in the second, though, the guard. He's become a very good player. A lot of people probably don't know who he is. He's their best offensive lineman. Solid pick, good job there. And in the third, Dante Moncrief. He's gone on to become a fairly solid receiver for Andrew Luck. Yeah, that's a solid pick in the third. Good value there. Moving on to 2015, now with the last 2 years and sitting on the fence a lot more. If I feel strongly about a player, I'll give them a grade. But of course, a lot of these guys haven't played enough for a definitive decision to be made. So we've got Philip Dorsett, 29th overall pick, wide receiver. I think he's a bust. I feel strongly about this. He's been very poor for them. He's been given opportunities on the field. He's not taken them. He's a bust. I still don't understand that decision. I didn't understand it then. I don't understand it now. In the second, Dewan Smith, a defensive back. He's not done anything to this point. And in the third, Henry Anderson, a defensive lineman. Again, similar. We will see whether he has anything to offer in the upcoming few seasons. Last year's draft, we've got Ryan Kelly, the centre with the 18th overall pick. I thought he played well as a rookie. I think he'll be a mainstay on that line for years to come. I thought he played pretty well. I'm willing to give that one a solid. In the second, TJ Green is safety. We'll wait and see there. And in the third, LaRaven Clark, an offensive tackle. Again, we will wait and see there. So, in total, very, very poor job. We've got 10 solid selections overall and 3 value picks, and then 13 busts for a grand total of absolute 0. So, as I say, I am a firm believer that the Colts have one of the worst rosters in football, done a horrible job in the draft in the last few years. This exercise, if anything, has taught me that's absolutely the case. A few really good selections here and there, but for the most part, they've got nothing from these classes. It's easy to see why the roster is in the state that it is. In the first round as well, they've struggled with 8 selections. 4 of them have been busts. 3 of them have worked out, and one's been mediocre. That's a poor ratio. Only 3 value selections. as a result, they've got one of the worst scores that I've given out. Pretty much a poor job on every front. So there you go. If you want to know why the Colts are bad, the draft. There's a reason they changed general manager this off-season. They should have done it sooner. Ryan Grigson was an absolute disaster. To be honest, it wasn't much better before that. So really disappointing there. Hopefully they can get it together. I want to see Andrew Luck, have some success. He's such a good player. It'd be nice to see an actual competitive team around him. And what do you guys think? Have I been too harsh on the Colts? Personally, if anything, I think I might have been generous here. What do you think of the series so far? If you find it interesting, let me know. As I say, check out the Friday episode. It will really put all this into context. You'll be able to see it compared, the Colts compared to every other team. There'll be a lot of information in that episode. I think it'll be really entertaining and informative for everyone. If you've got any comments on this or any of my other videos, find the Cover Zero Facebook, find me on Twitter and follow me. Give me some things on comment section below. I'll do my best to get back to absolutely everyone. This series has been a lot of fun to do. Really hope people are enjoying it. If you are, check out some of the other videos. As I say, the Friday episode was pretty much going to be essential to getting the most out of this particular week's series. And if you've enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon. All that stuff's thoroughly appreciated. All that good stuff there. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. If you enjoy it, please check out some more of the videos. And as always, go Bucks.